Liam, you open your eyes. You're in a world made up of tiny little particles. Unthinking, unaware, unconscious little particles. And you realize that you yourself are made up of these tiny particles. Yet you are conscious. You are self-aware. You are thinking. But because of that fact, because you are self-aware, you know that, no matter what, nothing you do matters, nothing anyone will ever do will ever matter, because at the end of the day, you're just a collection of tiny particles aimlessly bumping into other collections of tiny particles just because that's the predetermined trajectory you're on. So, knowing that nothing you do holds any inherent value or meaning whatsoever, what do you do?
Woo!
Ricky Ticky Tavi bitch!
Jeez!
Wow, man.
I'm just trying to articulate
okay,
without coming across too positive, but I don't think that that's inherently a negative thing. Like,
Well, no.
the fact that nothing matters. I mean, it means that you can make whatever it is you want to make from it. Because I'm not saying find your own meaning. Well, I suppose I am saying find your own meaning.
Yeah, you think find your own meaning?
Well, yeah, but it doesn't. Just the fact that we're all made up of tiny little atoms and particles and shit.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a negative thing. Like, I think it's actually better to think of it as a positive thing. Like, nothing matters, so do whatever it is you enjoy doing.
But what's the point?
Well, there is no point. There's also no point to not doing anything.
Yeah.
Because we are conscious, right? We are self-aware now. Something along the lines. As stated in the introduction, we've somehow come across this. We just sort of stumbled into it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of up to you, not you as like a whole grouping of these little particles, to enjoy it. Like, you may as well enjoy it. You because there's a choice, basically, almost.
Yeah. Is there that?
I don't know. What do you?
Well, like, do you consider yourself a nihilist? Like, do you think
I certainly did. I think now. Oh, I think now I'm an optimistic nihilist.
Good. Because I was definitely like an edgy nihilist teen.
We've all seen Rick and Morty.
Well, yeah, but like, I mean, don't want to be that guy, but before Rick and Morty was popular, I was an edgy nihilist. But like, I think the problem with nihilism is that it's like a stepping stone. Like, it's good as like a response to like religion. Like, because religion kind of forces its meaning and value onto you.
Yeah.
You just make shit up and they force it onto you. And like, nihilism is like, well, no, everything's materialistic. There's not this divine, transcendental like meaning to anything.
Yeah.
But then you're left like, okay, so nothing has any inherent meaning, but like, what's the point now? So you have to have something to like step into after that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like an initial kind of rebound. Like, you have religion forced on you, and then
it's like
as you age, you realise that all of what they're saying doesn't really make much sense.
If we didn't have religion in the first place, if we didn't have this supposed like, you know, point and meaning to everything, we wouldn't have nihilism, because it would just be self-evident. That there's no inherent meaning,
that's the first thing you'd feel. You'd be like, oh well, so nothing matters, and then that's when you can start making progress. It's like.
Yeah.
The initial shock to your system. That's what makes you kind of well, I feel like that's what typically makes you kind of unhappy, or kind of not angry, but just nihilistic, like kind of depressed maybe, in that there isn't any meaning. So it's hard for you to find incentive to do anything. Yeah, there's no real motive.
When you live like a lie that makes you think that there's, you know, like a metaphysical like power that's giving everything meaning. But then you realise that that's all bullshit. Then you're kind of, you're fucked. And you become an edgy teen. And you watch Rick and Morty, and that's like, I mean, surely that's worse than hell. You said it earlier, I think. And it's kind of cheesy, but it's true, you know? When you realise that, like, nothing has any inherent meaning, that means that everything has meaning. You know?
Yeah, I think it actually gives you quite a lot of power. Like,
Yeah.
power over how you interpret things. Because you understand that nothing matters. So there is no wrong. There's no right or wrong. So there's no wrong decisions. There's no, like, kind of...
Yeah.
Any kind of thoughts you'd have for suggesting, like, that was a wrong decision that you've made. You can still reflect on things and think, well, I could have done, like, I would have liked to have done that better, but you would have never done it better. Given the at that time, you'd have never done it differently.
Yeah.
And, like, there is no good or bad to actions. It's just what is.
Yeah, and religion usually, like, imposes that feeling of, like, you're weighing everything you do. Like, was that good or bad? You know,
Yeah.
where am I going to end up?
How did God think on
what
that?
did God
Like,
think of that?
You do everything in relation to how you think God's going to perceive it.
Whereas, yeah, it's like
That's your main drive. To
realizing
do
that that's probably bullshit. It's like, yeah, it's like liberating in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, I'm my God now.
Yeah. I mean,
I decide.
and I think if you've reached that point and then you still do positive acts, like if you reach that point and you come to your own decision on why you want to donate to charity or why you want to be a good member of society, like you want to contribute, that
Yeah.
I think is more rewarding than if
Definitely.
it was as if, because previously it would have been as if somebody was ordering you to do it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not honest.
you
It's
had
not,
to do it
not
because you
authentic.
wanted to get to heaven.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's, I truly want to do this. Like, I've reflected on everything and I know that my decision here won't matter, but I'd like to help someone. Or
Yeah, that's what I don't get with, like, that argument that you often get from, like, religious people. It's like, well, if you don't believe in God and all this, like, where do you get, like, your morality from? But, like, surely that by saying that they're just implying that atheists are better people than them. Because if the only reason you're being a good person is because
you're told to.
yeah, you're afraid of what God might do to you if you don't, then you're just a bad person. Like, if one day they stopped believing in it, or if it was proved that it wasn't true, would they go around murdering people?
Yeah, all of a sudden everything they've held true.
That's the argument they're making. I mean, obviously they wouldn't. They just wouldn't go around killing people.
Because you innately feel that that's
Yeah,
wrong.
but that's not their argument. That's the point they're trying to make, and it doesn't make sense, really.
I think a lot of people are... Not a lot, but some people, once you've been religious for a certain amount of time, there's an understandable amount of fear not converting to the truth, but
Yeah,
like
because
for changing your belief, because then all of your time
wasted.
previously has been wasted.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely the right move to understand that your time is wasted, and then you can stop wasting it. Because if you're aware, like if you become aware that you've like, I could believe this kind of like I don't believe in God anymore. But then what happened for the past 30 years where I was believing in God? That was all just a colossal waste of time. And so you choose then to continue with your current belief.
But can you
God.
do that though? Can you, like, trick yourself into believing? Is that how belief works?
Isn't that how belief works?
I think there's a point of no return. Like, if you have, like, this weird realization, like, you're presented with so many, like, arguments against religion and whatever, and you're like, oh shit, you know, it's clearly all bullshit. You're not going to go on pretending it's like, just because you don't want to waste the past 30 years. Can you do that?
I think
mentally?
I think people have that kind of mental strength to do that.
But I guess they're kind of lying to themselves.
Yeah, but isn't that the whole point almost?
Well, no, because there's a difference between lying to yourself and genuinely believing, you know, what you believe. Because to them it's like true, it's real, you know.
Right, but then somebody comes in and
if
says...
I believed it, I would be lying. I would have to figure out a way to convince myself that it's true.
Which is simple enough.
So
once you already believe it, like once you've already come into the belief and you've been indoctrinated, then like over time you've become quite a devout religious member, I guess, religious person. It's easy. It's easier for you when confronted with facts to just say, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
There are some people that know the evidence. I'm not smart enough to know the evidence, but there are people that know the evidence, and they'll tell you. You should argue with a priest. I guess they have found a way to delude themselves through other people. So they say, like, what you're saying sounds like the truth. Like, it sounds reasonable,
But we
and
have
it
an
sounds
answer for
truth.
that.
But we have an answer. I
Yeah.
don't know it, but there is an answer
Yeah.
for it, and I'm not going to go find it. I'm just going to point you
Someone's
in the
been
direction.
thinking about that.
Yeah, and I wonder.
We wouldn't just make this shit
No,
up.
yeah, people couldn't. It's so unbelievable. There's no way anyone would ever want to make this up. It has to be the work of God.
They can believe in everything that's in the Bible and the concept of a God, but they can't believe that someone would make it up. No. That's just too unlikely.
That's too crazy.
I mean-
Why would anybody want to?
Okay, enough, Christian bashing. So, what were you talking about? Oh yeah, but is it better to delude yourself? Is it better to be in denial? Is it healthier? Because I think you can make the argument that they're maybe happier than atheists.
Certainly could. You certainly could argue that.
I cry myself to sleep every night.
Exactly. With the lack of a God, you lose an eternal friend. You lose somebody that is there constantly.
You lose the and
you've
it's gonna sound. You lose the existential safety net.
Yes.
Your face when you realise that kind of made sense. You're like, oh yeah,
Oh, I'll give him that.
I'll give him that. Can't deny him that one.
And suddenly you're alone, and
Yeah,
you don't want to be alone,
being alone, yeah, it's scary.
and that sucks. So what do you do at that point? Because every time you felt alone previously, you've prayed. So what do you do now that you're just alone in the universe?
You're a fucking nihilist or whatever. So what is the next step? What do you turn to? How do you find meaning?
I don't think it's important to look.
No,
I don't think. Well, I don't.
don't look. Don't worry about it.
Almost outside. Don't delude yourself into kind of.
Yeah, because
Knowing
maybe not thinking about it is just a different kind of
But like,
denial.
it doesn't need to be. I don't know. I don't know if there is meaning in anything, right? Like, I don't know if there's meaning in life.
It's kind of a
So-
matter of like definitions again. Like, what does meaning even mean? Like, meaning. Does it have to be some kind of divine meaning, or because things
Yeah,
are
no,
meaningful? Everything's meaningful
exactly.
from a certain angle.
It's just how you look at it, right?
Yeah.
So find the right way to look at it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, listener, just find
find the right way to look at it.
Don't kill yourself.
There's more to live for, man. Maybe.
Maybe not. Maybe shit. What are we doing? Are we wrong? So what's this? This is a great segue. So what's this optimistic nihilist bullshit you're talking about, Liam?
So it's the acceptance of there being no meaning and whatnot, and life being kind of pointless, but kind of almost reveling in it, like not taking that as a negative, but instead interpreting it as a positive.
Yeah.
So because there's no meaning in anything you do, you're almost free to do anything you like, and since there is no right or wrong,
Except murder people
yeah.
and rape animals. Well, we don't know. Raping animals, we're not sure on that one yet.
We're still debating.
We're
it.
still... Jury's still out on that one.
But, like, it doesn't need to be a negative thing. So,
No, it's just the
like, nihilism
default position, really.
yeah, because it's you're kind of you feel alone and stuff and whatnot. But there are loads of people going through it. Everybody's a nihilist at heart, right? Like, everybody's alone
Well,
in a way, and so maybe make a kind of communion of being alone, like a bunch of.
but are you creating a religion, Liam? Oh shit!
Why would anybody want to do that?
It's almost as if it's too depressing without one. Maybe life's just too sad.
And life is pretty sad, but it can also be a pretty happy thing. How do you choose to interpret? Do you take it on a positive side? Do you reflect on it? I guess maybe with indifference, but
Like, I think about it a lot, kind of, meaning and like what's the point. And I think it's just a long process. I'm just still figuring it out, Just waiting to see. Maybe I'll figure some kind of belief system.
Yeah.
To help me through the eternal torture that is existence.
Oh boy. And I guess that's the kind of gist of it. Like, you're free to choose, arguably free to choose that, like, your own belief system. I think it's important that you develop your own sense of what you think is right and wrong, and what you think is like true or morally correct and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's something that each individual takes on, like, their own approach through life. Like,
Yeah, there's objective truth in, like, observing, you know, the world, science, all that. That has to be objective. But there's no objective truth in interpreting, like, the world and how to and how to pursue things.
And the way I see it, like, I you know, I'm more of a pleasure seeker almost in things. So, like,
A hedonist.
potentially, yeah. Did have a conversation.
Literally the only way, maybe, to live a happy life is to maximise, you know, pleasure.
Potentially, but I also don't think that's the case, because the people that do that. So, like, how do you go about maximising pleasure?
So it's like,
Is it
almost
short-term pleasure? So
Yeah.
do you, like, do drugs, or do you have sex? Because I feel like the people that would go about getting the short, fast pleasures in the long term are going to reach a point where they're almost unable to progress. So you'd live, like, a shorter life, potentially. Because if you were to use drugs like MDMA, you're guaranteed a good time for that night, but it does lead to kind of long-term depression after.
Yeah. Okay, well, little thought experiment then. Like, if you could live a life where, you know, they have those experiments where they have, like, the mice hooked up to some kind of thing that makes them orgasm or something, and they keep pressing the buttons and it makes them orgasm, and they never stop.
Right.
And they just die because they don't eat or something.
Yeah.
If we had, like, not an orgasm, but like a happiness, like dopamine or whatever secretion in your brain,
Yeah.
that just makes you happy every time you put...
Which we do.
Well, kind of, but this is like pure, you know... Would your entire life... Wouldn't that be the best life? Just sitting at that button, just pressing that for your entire life, being happy all the time?
It would be... Well, I guess it would be the most pleasurable life.
Yeah, so is that the best life?
That's the question, yeah, dude. That's an internal question, you know. That's one we're striving to answer.
That's what I'm working on over here, guys.
That's my little side project.
That's my thesis paper. Are intellectual pursuits more important, or... Because they usually make you fucking depressed as fuck. So I don't know.
Because becoming more aware of things doesn't necessarily, like, it doesn't mean that you're going to be happier. Like, if that's what you're striving for, if you're striving for...
If you want to understand the universe or whatever...
It's like, the universe doesn't care, right?
It's like, that's cool to know stuff, but, like, why?
Yeah, so what? You're going to die, right?
Yeah.
So... But the universe doesn't give a fuck. So learning about the universe, it does not help. It doesn't help in attaining happiness. It can sort of pave off that kind of existential dread, but because you're like, oh, I'm learning something new every day. But it doesn't actually help in the long term.
Curiosity, really. I mean, obviously, there are branches of science, like medicine and stuff, that do help.
That's super helpful. Super helpful.
But yeah, looking at the stars, cosmology, what the fuck are we doing, guys?
What? Why, man? Just why? Why do we want to do any of that shit? But we are curious, right?
Yeah.
So potentially a life of pleasure would inadvertently not be pleasurable because you wouldn't be able to feed your curiosity.
I don't know, those mice, they just don't stop pressing the button, man.
Oh wait, the mice are in control of pressing the button.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I thought like a scientist was just spamming the button, and like, the mouse was like.
How would you know whether or not they want it? Like,
No, I didn't know.
What's the experiment?
It's just a shit.
How long does it take to kill a mice with
orgasms? Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, no. They
So they go and press the button.
Yeah, they're addicted to it. Like,
and is that
like,
true?
I guess.
But is that true if they were in a colony? Like, was it a single mice by itself, or was it in a family of mice, like a whole?
Probably a bachelor mouse,
the Rat Park kind of thing.
I think they're alone. I'm guessing.
But wouldn't you?
Wouldn't I do that?
If you were truly alone, not saying the orgasm button, but like.
So you're saying it's the conditions are wrong?
Yeah. So in a situation where you're the only thing,
I guess
you're going to strive for pleasure because there's no reason to do anything else.
Yeah, but dying, like not even eating. So that's like...
Yeah, because why would you prolong
You
it?
don't
'Cause it's
care
just,
about
it's
that.
going to be... Well, I guess at that point, you'd only prolong it to have more of the pleasure.
Exactly, well, it's
But
almost like it's a...
You're so sort of obsessed with the pleasure
Exactly,
that you're
but
not
they don't do
thinking
that.
of
It's like
longevity.
a biological instinct to just go to the pleasure, the quickest pleasure, you know, the easiest possible way.
Mm.
To the point where it's like, yeah, just the idea of not being in that state of pleasure for a second to go eat is like, they can't even do that, you know?
I wonder if that'd be different if there was a whole
I get
family
maybe,
of
potentially.
mice. Because I know that there was a
I mean, I don't
experiment
know.
with drugs, I think it was heroin, where like they were given 2 bottles of water, one with heroin or cocaine, and then one normal water. And when the mouse was by itself, it would always go for the heroin bottle, which made people think, oh, people are addicted to heroin. Like the mice are addicted to the heroin.
But
They'd
when it
never
was-
choose the water option. But then they made like a rat park, which was like this awesome park for mice, or I guess rats. Because I've said rat park, so I'll go with rats.
I get
Change the
that
analogy.
doesn't make sense. Now that you say it.
And so they had things to play on, and there was loads of rats, and they could like have sex as much as they liked, and they could run around and do what they could. It was like a heaven for rats. And then,
Oh yeah.
so
I think I've heard of it, yeah.
the rats didn't.
They're people.
Um,
No, right.
the rats didn't go for the heroin bottle of water anymore. They pretty much solely drank the normal water. So it's more of
Yeah.
a situation than a...
This was to show that like alcoholism and drug addiction.
Yeah, like
is,
addiction is thought about wrong.
It's about your life, like how good your life is.
It's your cage almost.
Yeah, if you need the drugs, then you're going to go to them. But if you
Yeah.
have a good life and good social life and everything, then you're probably not going to. Yeah. But I guess maybe orgasms are different. Who knows?
But like
Because it's
we have that
literally
ability.
instant
Though.
pleasure.
Humans have that ability, but it's rare that people choose to do it, right? Like we could just jack off 24/7.
Well, not literally, because you know
There are
There's the-
factory periods.
your dick's gonna fall
Times
off.
of cool down. You just need to take a break. But arguably, you could jack off any point when you have the potential to jack off.
Yeah.
And yet it's very rare. I'm saying it's very rare, not like impossible, because I assume there are some people out there that do take this lifestyle, but like...
I wish, man.
yeah, dude. And yet people don't. So why is it people naturally don't?
Well, obviously, in the case of humans, there's a lot of factors that come into play, like cultural, social things. It's like impossible to have sex unless, obviously, if you're in a relationship, I guess, and your partner is willing to do that too. Getting sex all the time is hard, you know. You have to get it. Costs.
What?
Wait,
It's expensive. Because I mean, for quite a few branches of life, like if you think that we're only around to procreate, it's quite a useful tactic. You could jack off forever and keep donating your sperm, and that is the best way to get your genes spread across.
I guess it's because
many places, but people don't for some reason.
Because obviously orgasms are pleasurable, but I guess they don't hold that much importance in the way like we've evolved. I mean, the pleasure is the incentive to reproduce, which is why the gene was passed down. But we have other instincts as well. Obviously, you know, eat, you know, drink. The only two things I could think of: eat, drink, and like in a natural world like we live in, without this button, this magic button. Like obviously, we're not gonna have sex all the time. But if we introduce this like magic drug or a button or whatever it could be that just activates, you know, the pleasure in your brain all the time, I don't know what would happen then.
But that's almost what MDMA does.
Yeah,
and it's what like.
But then there's the social element to that, where it's like kind of socially unacceptable, frowned upon to be doing MD all the time.
But that's if your life is purely a pursuit of fast pleasures, then it wouldn't be. It shouldn't matter to you.
Yeah, but the reason why everyone's not turning to that is because of the social pressure.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
that makes sense.
Potentially. Not saying that if
there are other reasons, but yeah.
Pleasure. Cross that one off the list. That's not the point.
Yeah, there are also deeper pleasures.
Because you're not doing it.
Yeah.
So clearly it's not.
Clearly it's not, unless it is the point we should be doing it. Everybody stop doing what they're doing and jack off and take MD. And we'll get back to you next week if we're all still around. Nobody's ate. Nobody's done anything since me and Billy. We got up for a resurgence episode. We're like,
everyone just shares this podcast around to see, this is what we should be doing, guys.
This is how to
And
pleasure.
we just cause the end of humanity because everyone just stops doing what they're doing and jacks off and takes heroin, probably.
Yeah. So, cross pleasure off.
Yeah, not pleasure. Foot pleasure, almost. Look, sprinkle some pleasure onto your life.
That makes it, yeah, you've got to have some pleasure.
You need the high points, the things to look forward to.
Do you think there's one thing that people should pursue?
You're saying, what's better than sex? We've been...
Potentially.
I know you don't like this system. But the system of aiming for things that are better than sex, I think it works.
Whoa! I don't like how you're putting...
Divide your life
into
your life into things that aren't as good as sex and things that are better than sex.
And only go...
Try to maximise the amount of things that you do that are better than sex and reduce the other things. Unless they're essential things like taking a shit or whatever. Although, taking a shit could be more satisfying sometimes than some sex. You get that good shit.
The good shit.
And you're just like, oh, I needed that.
It's the good shit, man.
it's
that good shit.
That's why it's called that.
But then also you have to find new things. So, to find things that are better than sex, you have to do things that
I didn't think this system through thoroughly. So I don't know. Maybe it's bullshit.
We'll get back to you.
We'll get back.
This is a future discussion. Is Bailey's better than sex ethics the way to live?
But what were you saying before I introduced that? The better than sex system. What were you talking about? Pleasure.
Just a different path. A pursuit. Is there one? Do you think there is one specific thing you should pursue to lead like a better life? Be it, I guess, self-enlightenment.
I guess
or
maybe we're
like
making the same mistake that the religious people do, in that we're trying to think of a universal path to the best life, where we're all different.
It doesn't exist.
We all need different. Nothing matters. We're all slightly neurologically different in various ways, so we all need different things. We all have different desires and all have different things that make us happy and feel satisfied or whatever. So you just need to. Dude, go out there, find your own fucking meaning.
Fucking dude, you do you. That's all I'm saying.
They don't say that, for nothing. That makes sense. You do you. As fucking retarded as it is.
I think that's one of the biggest reliefs for the kind of that nihilism offers.
Yeah.
The kind of the fact that nothing matters means that you can truly dedicate yourself to doing you. Like anything that you think is remotely interesting, I think you should pursue, because why not? There's no reason why you shouldn't pursue it, and maybe you'll find like a deeper meaning or whatever. Who cares? Like you'll enjoy it, and I think ultimately that's what you should go for. Not like instant pleasures, because like a universal instant pleasure, but
fulfilling.
Something that that feels fulfilling, like. And maybe once you fulfill yourself or fill yourself enough, you'll feel fulfilled. Jesus Christ!
Whoa! Whoa! Are you still on your first count?
Mm-mm.
No.
No way. Home.
Oh no! Oh, I see that. I see that now. Is this beer good? I don't like beer, so I don't know if it's good or not.
Just drink it.
Just drink it, dude.
Just drink it, and eventually you'll be like, this one's okay, and this one tastes like piss. And that one tastes a bit more like piss than the other one.
Because it's just like, why not just drink cider? Because it tastes better. Pretty much the same alcoholic content, usually.
Yeah, but it's just not as good. It's too sweet.
Cider is too sweet.
Some ciders are too sweet,
but
I'd say most ciders are too sweet.
But beer is too, disgustingly bitter.
Yeah. Do you drink drink coffee, or do you drink...
No, fuck off. Coffee, it's just a mass delusion that people have convinced themselves that it tastes good or whatever. I don't know what's going on with you guys.
Me over here, you're all crazy.
I'm over here in the enlightened camp. We see the truth.
Well, I think the trick is you find things that typically would be disgusting. you push through it,
Push through the
and then you
pain.
sound intellectual. It's like with wine or coffee or
But even
or
then,
beer
like-
or, and then you can have like a yes, this is a delicious, and children are like, ooh,
But the thing
that's a
is-
very adult thing. And why does that taste nice, Dad? And you're like, because because it's a very adult. You have to have an acquired taste,
But yeah,
and you're an elite. You're part of the elite.
Exactly. But like the thing is, obviously, different coffees, different beers, different wines. There's different varieties. There's different tastes that you can get there. And if you're like a pro connoisseur, you can sense all these little hints of a tree bark or whatever the fuck it is.
A little bit of pencil shaving.
A little bit of that. But the thing is, why go that? Why push yourself through the disgusting part to get to the hints of flavour when you can just drink something that's just flavour without the disgusting parts? You know,
Because people,
it's like an accomplishment. Like
Yeah,
oh,
people
yeah.
people like.
But you can't taste the real flavour of wine yet, dude. You
You
dude.
fucking. You're a bit of a basic bitch over there. I mean, that's how I respond. People come over. Why are you drinking that? The glass of wine is like, it's pretty good. Like, can you not taste it?
You literally went to a coffee tasting thing,
I went to.
didn't you?
It's cupping. It's cupping.
A cupping.
It's a cupping.
What is that? Because it's cups, like because you drink.
You,
out of
but you
cups.
don't. You drink it with a spoon. You go. You have to slurp it. We were told to slurp.
Explicitly. Told
Explicitly.
to
This is
slurp.
how you do a cupping. You take it and you go, and you just you breathe it in almost,
'Cause,
and
like-
that sort of laces your taste
Because
buds.
you're so not like a. You're not a connoisseur.
No.
You don't know, but you.
You
But you're
aspire
kind
to
of
be.
you're kind of a hipster, but in like a kind of like a naive, like you can't hate you for it way. Like it's like everything you do is like theoretically Liam is a hipster, but he doesn't feel like one. I don't know why.
I don't know what that means.
Don't know what that means, but like you go to coffee tastings, you go to slurping sessions or whatever.
Well, it's the
they're called.
same. Yeah, it's the cupping.
And it's like, Liam, what are you doing? Are you really into coffee that much? Or do you like the idea of being into coffee?
It's certainly a pleasurable idea, and I think but people have to.
Bend your wrist like that. Way.
Shit. Timber.
Oh, fuck.
People have surely connoisseurs.
I see some wood over here. What the fuck?
Connoisseurs have to start somewhere.
But do you want to be a coffee connoisseur?
No, but I really like the way that connoisseurs are able to describe their food, even if it's bullshit. The way that,
Well, they're not.
but even the way that they like the way they write about what they're tasting, to me, it shows like a level of tasting that I'm unable to comprehend.
Yeah.
Because when I taste something, it's like, oh, that's tastes like that. Whereas they have like
It's definitely good to.
metaphors,
Yeah, it's
similar-
like they have more layers of like.
and they have just a depth that I'd
Yeah.
like to attain, and I think I like deep things.
The question is like, if you want to go deep on something, why go deep on like fucking coffee or wine or beer or whatever? Like, you know? I mean, this is just me, you know, being a fucking pleb in all of these things.
Yeah.
Not understanding them.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'm just a nihilist. You know, what's the point in tasting coffee? Why not get into something actually useful or
Like
interesting? I don't know, science I would say, but I guess that's subjective. Maybe
Yeah, and why?
wine is
why,
more
why-
interesting than
Why
science.
Why would I go into science?
You know what, dude? Coffee's more important than science. Like, let's just
In the
think
grand
about
scheme of
coffee.
things, coffee may not be
You
more
made,
important
you
than
made a
science.
good point, Liam. You know what?
But coffee could be. No, it couldn't. But
I mean, it definitely couldn't. But what if it was?
But what if, you know, people have to develop certain things, right? And maybe, just maybe,
Well, yeah, but
my calling in life, you know, I've only done it the one time so far.
Right.
So it's not like I'm a cupping regular. It's not like I'm a cupping expert. I've dabbled, you know. I've
well, you've
dipped
done
my
it
feet.
multiple times.
No,
Oh,
just the one
oh,
time.
okay.
I'd like to do it another time.
What?
Because I think you definitely could discern different flavours. Don't know if it was placebo, but you could. And I,
Imagine if all like wine tasting, it's just placebo.
it really,
just-
it's a little, you know, it's a common
Just
theory,
random.
and I think it holds weight because I've been to cuppings and I've been to tastings, and everybody, it depends on how pretentious they look, and I think the more pretentious people look, the more pretentious they'll act, and that's when they get the real deep flavours, and then you sip it and you go, well, that just, you know, that tasted a bit like the last one. But they're saying completely different. That was hints of blueberry and a little bit of chocolate
And then you
and some
start to
vanilla.
maybe taste that.
And then you taste it. You taste it again. You go, okay, maybe, but it could just be because you said that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if, where does the buck lie? Does it lie with me? Does it lie with them? Are they lying? Is it all bullshit?
Like, how do you?
I want to find out. I want to find out if the tasting scene is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Or you're born with more taste, or
I mean, I guess that's possible, but like what? Who gets into that? Who's like, I'm going to be a professional wine critic or whatever? I don't know. Like, how does that become the, how does wine tasting become the muscle you decide to, work on? Like, why is that the ability you work towards?
maybe you just have you have like a natural inclination towards wine.
Maybe.
Like, from a young age, you've always thought about wine, and
I mean, yeah, obviously it's psychological reasons, but like,
or maybe you like just like wine throughout life, or you look at everything that you're capable of, and you realise that there are things better than you at everything that you think you're capable at, and then you get narrower and narrower and narrower, and eventually you reach a point where you're like, yeah, I'll taste wine. Not many people are tasting wine, and then you taste wine and you go, okay, well that tasted like wine. So,
but maybe,
I guess now I bullshit the taste. This didn't taste like normal wine.
That's all wine tasters.
Well, that's my theory.
Well, surely they would test them. Like, what do you think is in this? And then they say something, and then you see if that's what's in the wine. And if they're right, then obviously.
But you can only test it against other wine tasters, right?
Well, no, because people know what was put into the wine.
Right, but that's irrelevant.
So you can test that if they're bullshitting or not.
You can test the ingredients, but when you have, like, for coffee and stuff, when they say this coffee has hints of chocolate or, like, malt or anything, obviously there isn't chocolate and malt in the coffee.
What are they talking about then?
Exactly.
I believe them.
Exactly.
I was like, there's chocolate in this
Somebody
coffee.
tastes it and goes, that fits this flavour. And there's this big diagram, and it's like, and there's loads of different colours and loads of different words. And you can narrow your coffee, and people do. And they narrow their coffee into, like, a certain tree.
No, it's all coffee, but they're just getting the specifics of the taste.
And it's really niche. So there's, like, it's still coffee, but it's within this specific type of coffee that tastes like blah blah blah. But I assume you can do that scientifically. It's done on anecdotal evidence. Like, maybe you can tell by how long you've roasted it, or like
there's
how long
different
you've
types
dried
of roast, presumably different types of like
and maybe
grains or whatever,
they give out a flavour.
strains, and like, so yeah, you can test it. You can. Who are these? Is that a job?
There are
Do people
like
taste
coffee
things?
tasters.
What do they do?
In the
Are
same
they critics, or
they must be, right? Like, in the same way that there's game
We're talking
testers.
about wine tasters, but like is that a thing, or is that just like people who like wine, or is there a job wine tasting?
Somebody has to tell the flavours. Somebody has to come up with, like,
Maybe.
this wine is a blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Somebody has to taste it in order.
This is an uninformed discussion because I have no idea about
Neither
anything.
do I. I have my theories
Wine.
and I have my cupping session.
Don't you just love that when you don't research anything at all?
You
but
just want to talk about
You just
it.
develop theories about something you know nothing about. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man, that's me.
That's the podcast, guy.
Isn't that interesting? Whew. Can I take a pee break?
By the way, yeah, I haven't. Maybe at some point, is it okay if I bother you for a bowl of cereal or something?
You haven't ate.
I haven't really eaten.
Yeah,
in a while.
you could eat a bowl. So we could.
Is that
You could
okay?
eat it on.
Not now, but like
you
at
could eat it
some
on the
point.
podcast.
I mean, maybe. I'm just saying. I'm not. It's just a warning because I'm not.
Hello. What are we talking about now? These
cereal podcast.
these not Rice Krispies. Fuck Rice Krispies.
They're the worst. Rice Krispies people, like, they just like, what are you doing, guys?
Cheerios. What's your take on Cheerios?
Cheerios is better than Rice Krispies, but also, like, if you're gonna take that step forward, you might as well go further than that and just get something with some
Good.
actual taste.
Get something good.
Like, come on.
I think Cheerios are the bottom of my cereal hierarchy.
Really?
I think
You prefer Rice Krispies to
I mean, both are not cereals I'd go for, but
cornflakes? I really don't like cornflakes.
I can't be
Like,
bothered.
It's like, I don't know, sometimes you get a hard one too, like that's a bit harder than the other ones.
Well, like a crunchy cornflake.
Yeah, it's like, well, oh,
Yeah, not bad.
Oh, what's going on here?
Yeah, pee break.
Yeah, people don't want to get into cereal. I know what
That's
you're like.
close. I almost lost 2 hours of my life.
You just, when you're alone in a room with a mic, you just have to talk to it. You just have to say something. It's like a joke, like, hey, I'm talking
to myself.
But you like, it's stupid, but you have to do it. Because otherwise you're just wasting. You're wasting
valuable private one-on-one mic time.
Yeah.
You
You don't want to be the guy that didn't say anything when he was alone in the room. With
Yeah,
the mic.
you don't want to have the other person like going through audio files and noticing that there's just a long pause when
And
you
then
went to the
they think,
bathroom.
wait, Bailey was just sat on the bed alone.
Did
Like,
Bailey literally just do absolutely nothing?
what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Is he a freak?
Is that your best like insult? Like, is he a freak?
Is he a freak?
Like 1930s Leo. Fucking freaks.
Shall I hit up some more?
Well, we haven't got the notes out yet, but yeah, why are you putting it back?
I
Did you think I was going to criticise?
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted me to get them out.
No, I mean, we can get into the notes, man.
The notes are out.
The notes are out.
So I don't know how much our opinions are going to differ on these because
I don't
I feel like our sources are kind of the same. But
I don't think that's necessarily a big problem.
no. Okay. Well, we'll start off with a.
As long as it's fairly interesting.
All right. Well, so automation or automation.
Well, I'll just let you find the word, and then we can move on.
It's one of those two words. Which one sounded more?
Well, I don't know what you're trying to say, so...
Well, either one of those two words that I said.
So, automation?
Automatization.
Automatization.
Automatisation. Robots taking human jobs. Or automatically.
You mean the CGP Grey video we watched the other day?
Exactly.
Automatization. Automatization. Let's just say it like that for now. So, my thoughts on automatization is like, I guess it just depends on how our economy is able to react to that. Like, can we like sustain ourselves in a world where people don't need jobs? Or
Can I push us?
You want to push
Can I just segue?
an agenda?
Segue further.
Sure.
Because I feel like if we were to talk
I was
about
about
anything,
to wing it anyway. Go on.
exactly. If we're going to talk about anything between automation, I wrote automation, but I just don't know if that's the word.
You know what?
Can we Google? Can we have a quick Google?
Historically, you've been right about every made-up word you've said.
We'll just roll with it.
That's a word.
We'll just roll with it.
Fucking conquested.
So then there's the universal basic income,
Yeah.
which
UBI?
is, yeah. nice.
I know the letters.
Which is, for those that don't know, when...
For those listening,
I really thought
Rob just pointed to me.
I really thought that would
He just
fly.
handed it to me. Like, literally handed the...
Yeah, because I thought you wanted to say something, but it doesn't matter. I can carry on speaking.
This has been two idiots trying to get it.
It's when everyone gets given the same amount of income, like a base income.
It's like a... it's
because
like
no work is all the work has been automated by robots.
it's like a welfare thing, but like just
On
everyone gets
massive
money.
scale. Like
Yeah.
it's a livable wage that everybody gets given. Like, is wage the right word? It's a livable income that everybody gets given.
Income, yeah.
Let's say yearly, and it's enough to live happily by, like as you would like an average salary, for example.
Because you're living hypothetically in a world where
Without work.
Yeah, there's no work. Everything's being done. There's no need for anyone to engage in like work.
And any work you could do is most likely done better by a robot. So there's no real incentive to work as a human because you're just not gonna be that good. Maybe in the creative sector, but even
there would
then,
definitely be things that humans still want, like from other humans.
Yeah, I feel like theatre, for example, like that
art
aspect.
is like you want to feel a connection with another human being. That's kind of the point.
And I just don't think that can get automated very quickly. Anyway,
Yeah.
so that would be one of the last things to be automated. So there'd still be some jobs, but not enough. To,
But they would just be like
the majority
passion.
of people.
It would be, if you want,
passion
if you want to
projects,
do that,
yeah.
you can do that. Like, it doesn't matter either way.
I'd like to ask you, Billy, would you enjoy this life without work? Would you enjoy a life without any monetary incentive to do anything?
Dude, like, this is, like... I mean, this is...
This is the dream.
Well, yeah, this is like a utopia, surely. I mean, you would think, theoretically speaking.
There are some that find... Sorry, can I just... You're going to speak?
Oh, well,
Might as well
yeah,
just jump in.
Go ahead, man. Dude,
I'm just going to say, I've had a conversation earlier today about it, and some people find that the monetary incentive, that drive, is enough for them. Like, that's what keeps them going.
Right.
So if you take out work, any meaningful work, anything meaningful that they could do, like they find their meaning through work, is what I'm trying to say. So if you get rid of the monetary incentive, if you get rid of work, then they'll reach a point where what they want to do dries out, and they'll just be filled with a kind of void. They said they'd kill themselves. Like they'd more likely to do that than happily live in a world where they
can do whatever they want. Yeah, that's stupid.
That makes totally makes sense. But whatever.
Well, my response to that would be, obviously it depends on what your like passion is, what your job that you want to do is. To me, obviously, my job is like a creative job, writing. So like, I'd like to think that the reason I'm interested in it isn't for monetary reasons. Like, maybe it is. Maybe because I grew up in a world where that idea was in my brain, like that I would receive money for it. I don't know how it would be if I lived in a world where there is no monetary incentive. But I would think, like, the me now, if this world became a reality, yeah, I would still want to do that job. Because it's just like, that's the point of my life. That's how I feel. Like, I just want to write like stories and stuff. Like, that's what I want to do.
Right.
I don't care about
it. Doesn't matter if people
being rich is cool. I don't care, but like, I don't care about the money. I just want to do that.
But in let's say a world where the UBI is a thing, there's no more work.
Yeah.
People have a lot more free time. And if, as we said, like creative work is still not really that automated, like. Yeah. Because it's you want to feel a more human connection.
Yeah, it's a human. Yeah.
Do you think you'd still feel your work is worthwhile if many people were doing it? Like, do you think that you'd still aspire to be a writer if that's what everyone was like? Not everyone, but a lot of people were doing.
Probably more people would be doing
because they have more free time, so they'd exercise.
Well, the thing
more.
is, I don't think the amount of people trying to do it would actually make a difference.
You don't think that matters?
I don't think like the.
You don't think they like an oversaturation.
Change. Because the thing
I guess there
already is loads of people who don't get into it, right? So
yeah,
there's a limit. There's a size of how big that industry can be. Like, so I don't think that would change really necessarily. I mean, I think it could stay the same. Where, like, if we were to say that there's only, I don't know, I'm just gonna make bullshit up. Like, there's only 2,000 people who make movies in a year or whatever. Obviously, that's not true, but if that number wouldn't change, I don't think, because there'd still be people deciding on what gets made and what doesn't, I guess.
Yeah. I guess there's a filtering system, but...
Yeah, there would be a filtering system.
It'd be grander because there'd be less people working. There'd be way more people doing other stuff. The kind of biggest worry I have, which isn't truly a worry, it's more like... It's just that globalization would become such a prominent thing. Like, there wouldn't be any significant individual cultures, sort of separate cultures, if the UBI was applied globally. For example.
So you think that would affect culture?
Yeah, because many people would have free time, there'd be more travelling. Because like, many people, or not many, I won't say many. Some people have, they don't have much interest in what's currently going on around them. They do what they do for work, like monetary purposes. But if you get rid of the monetary incentive, there isn't much reason to do what they're doing. Like the bulk of what they're doing sort of fades away.
I think,
which could lead into more travelling people, because people have an income that they haven't worked for and they want to spend it. and they want to find things that are meaningful, so they'll go to travel to specific places. Like they'll go see the Northern Lights, or they'll go see like just sort of landmarks, and they'll go see the world kind of thing.
Your entire life would be like your bucket list of just things you want to. There's nothing holding you back.
And I wouldn't say a bucket list is terribly unique from individual to individual. I think it would lead to a sort of a sense of globalization where everybody is kind of traveling and trying to meet different cultures, but in doing so destroying that culture.
I mean, that might be true,
but I don't know if that's like a good or a bad thing.
Like, obviously, if UBI was what's the word?
Globally enforced, or
was enforced or whatever. Now, in every country, everywhere, obviously, different countries have vastly different cultures and stuff. So maybe not every culture has this, desire to travel or whatever. I don't know, but for UBI to be introduced in the way that we're talking about now, it would be in the future, and cultures would presumably be vastly different from what they are now because of all the robots and everything.
Yeah,
robots. Sounds like weirdly childish.
It's super sci-fi, but it's kind of almost reality. We now do kind of have this stuff.
Because fucking robots, they're going to change every culture everywhere. So
did you just say fucking robots?
Fucking robots. Am I getting you? Oh! Is it hot in here?
Can somebody open a window? Think about that.
Wait, should we try to figure out a way to segue into language, or should we just say language? No.
Okay.
I don't know, how do we do this?
So, about automation. So there are a lot of robots and there are a lot of humans, but how can they communicate? We can only guess through language. Language. Is there any damage to be caused by words?
What?
Yes.
What the fuck
yes
are we doing?
Is the answer. Okay, Bailey. Wait. Okay, there's nothing going on that sheet.
Language.
Yeah, do you want to go the danger route?
The danger.
So, right. Danger. So language.
Come on.
No. So do you think there's anything that could there's anything that you can say? Like, obviously words have meaning, right? To an extent. Do you put much merit into what people say? Do you think that it has much sort of
this is such a
power?
I may not be a linguistics, professor. I may not have a PhD in linguistics.
I may not be a doctor of linguistics.
I may not know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I will say what I think. Okay, so language, I believe, played a very important role in the development of consciousness and self-awareness, and I think the development of language fed into the development of our consciousness, and it formed a kind of feedback loop where the more language developed, the more consciousness developed, and the more consciousness developed, the more language developed. So language is very important to the way we talk, obviously, but also the way we perceive the world, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I have no examples for that, but just take my
Just
word.
take my
word for that one.
It's just a feeling.
Guys, so language. Language has meaning. Words hold meaning, but meaning of words is dependent on a common understanding of the language, definitions, and all that. So, this would be a lot easier if I knew where I was going, what we were talking about. Language. What are we asking about language? What are we talking? Liam, you really
threw you into the deep end.
You really just gave me like a sheet of paper and pushed me in front of a crowd. Like, read this. Talk about this.
Do this.
Do this. I don't know. Should we get into free speech? I guess maybe that's the only angle.
Well, it's kind of like with a world full of sarcasm and satire and just
comedy in general.
Comedy and also truth and also not truth, misinformation, just false beliefs. Do words have kind of any weight to them?
Power.
Yes. Should they have any power? Because obviously people are able to talk about things that they know nothing about.
Yeah.
And people are really
Well,
able to like say things that they might not necessarily quote unquote think, like not things that they believe in or think are true, but they're capable of saying it. For any numerous amount of reasons.
yeah.
I don't want to sort of get bogged down in.
Because I don't know, really.
Because I don't know.
I don't have any
But yeah. So do you think that it should have as much weight? Like, if somebody says something, do you think that that matters?
I think language shouldn't really hold any meaning. It does now for obvious reasons, historical, cultural, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Words hold meaning, right? And words can trigger you. And what the fuck was that? Made sense. Made sense in the moment. But I believe I believe that we should live in a world where we can not feel pressured or, you know, offended or anything by language, where we can just see words for words and not associate any kind of inherent, you know, larger meaning to connotations to words. Okay, all that matters for words is intent. You know, that's all that matters, literally, because that's what words are. You're conveying meaning, and the best way we figured out to convey meaning to other people, the easiest way was to create language, so that we can.
You're conveying intent.
Yeah, you're saying, if I say I am hungry to you, I'm conveying, you know, an emotion, an idea that was in my head, a thought. Before language, we're like, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, we've all seen the Flintstones, like, we know what we're talking about. So,
That's how cavemen work.
you know,
There's
so
all language in
language developed for obvious reasons just makes things easier, right? But if we're like, you know, oh, this word you can't say it because it's a dangerous word, right? Surely that makes no sense. Like, surely we should, as a society, detach ourselves from. We shouldn't be, what's the word, like, controlled by words. We shouldn't feel afraid of words. We invented language. We invented words.
We literally came up with words.
Yes. Why are we
feel
afraid
to
of
use them?
Yeah, why are we afraid to use them? I know it's hard to say because obviously some words make people feel bad or whatever, feel offended, and being, you know, a white male, I can't comment on that. But like yeah, it would be good. Obviously, I know it's hard, but it would be good if we could detach ourselves from that, because if we start giving power to words, then it's not going to take long for us to live in a world where, you know, words have power over all of us, and we're controlled by this weird thing that got out of our hands, like language. Like, it became its own thing that has power in the world, even though it's just a made-up thing.
It's a concept we created
Yeah.
in order to convey messages between us.
And if we live like in a weird, like, Orwellian world where we're not allowed to say certain words or whatever, like, it's just so absurd. Like, to an extent, you can understand. Okay, don't say that word because it has like historical meaning or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
I
like,
can
you don't
get
know
that.
what you're saying. You don't know. You just don't know what you mean. Like,
But like, also like, that's why intent is the only thing that matters. Because if you're not intentionally being, whatever it may be, racist or whatever, I don't know, hateful, then it's not your fault. You shouldn't be punished for using a auditory symbol that just conveys meaning without knowing that it was going to cause a negative
offense.
effect.
Like, you're not intending for offense. You're just intending to.
Yeah, intent is.
I guess
the
I don't
only
know.
thing that matters.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know. What the fuck am I talking about? Drink that beer. I just hate people.
Don't say that.
How long have we been going?
Long enough.
Is that long enough?
I don't know how long is it.
There's 9 minutes left, so I guess we've been going for like an hour and 20 minutes. Or something.
That's probably long
So
enough.
I guess that's good enough. Do we have an outro or something?
Bop skibby bop booty bop.